YouTube. So say hi to YouTube, say hello to YouTube, say hi, introduce yourself if you need to. Because this was an interesting exchange.
Oh my God! Wow! Oh my God!
Okay, I'm going to turn down notifications because you guys are degenerates. Now, it all started like this. Scott Taylor. I got into an argument with a verified account. It was crazy, bro. All right, so Scott Taylor is an investigative reporter for News 7 DC. News 7 DC is just a news station. Some people who you might know who follow them are Buddha Biberai, Richard Wolf, Twitter Verified, Scott Taylor, Lil B the Bass God, who also follows me, Eleanor Norton. She's a member of Congress. She represents DC, and PolitiFact. So anyway, Scott Taylor tweeted this and said, family of sexual assault victim at the Atlanta County Public Schools is responding to the Board of Education's news release, stating it will better protect students, but won't release its independent report. And this is the Scott Smith family statement. And then Suzanne said this. Scott, please do not publish his name as it identifies his daughter. Instead of looking for attention from the press, he should be taking care and making sure she gets counseling and parenting she needs. Then Scott Smith said this. Scott Smith and his family gave the local and national media permission to identify him and his family months ago. He has spoken openly about his daughter's therapy and her positive progress in her recovery. I have always ID'd the teens involved by victim or suspect. The reason why this kind of irked me, and I responded to Susan's tweet because she was getting some fliggity flack because these two individuals are both named Scott. So Buckeye Joe said, Scott is not shady, probably one of the most respectful reporters. He wouldn't publish something without permission, I'm sure. He's one of the few, he's one of the few good ones in the media. And then Suzanne said, I didn't say he did, just that he shouldn't do it. His father seems to enjoy attention and his daughter doesn't need it. And then I enter the ring. And here's the problem with me on Twitter. I'm the person who enters into the fight mid-match. I have a bad habit of doing this. So I come in swinging. When I said, it puts his daughter, a juvenile, at risk to potentially being identifiable to the public. It's not his job to give his daughter, a victim of assault, a voice. Personally, it's no one's job. It's possible to be a white knight, even if it's your daughter. Woo, let's just say, I'm just going to keep it real with you. this tweet's a little hot. Like, it's a little hot. Like, so let's say I didn't enter on the best of terms. But to give a broader reason why I tweeted this is that Scott Smith has proven through different media, how you would say, media displays, that he might not be the best individual to be speaking about things. And for those of you who are new here, we've been covering this for a very long time. So we have a lot of exposure to Scott Smith. So on its face, it might look like I'm coming a little hard on the, excuse me, I'm coming a little hard on the paint. However, Scott Smith, for those of you who want to get caught up, first talked to the Daily Wire about the situation with his daughter. And let's see if I can pull this up. Here it is. I think it was the Daily Wire. What's that other one? Excuse me. Here it is. Yeah, here it is. It was the Daily Wire. So this is the story that first brought Scott Smith into the open road. Father in viral video school board arrest says his daughter was raped in a school bathroom. Now, I did a definitive timeline of these events, which will hopefully be done. It's not this week or next week. I'm going to put out the document, put it in Google Drive, make it like a nice little tiny URL. That way you can see the whole timeline with links of everything. But basically, Scott Smith started yip yapping. He alleged that to give you the TLDR, he alleged that his daughter was raped in the bathroom by a boy wearing a skirt. And this story sparked this idea that there are trans predators in or trans students being predators towards girls in bathrooms. And this was a very hard case of misinformation to tackle. And it lasted for a considerable amount of time. Now, the case went through all the stuff, and he was sentenced. And one of the problems that Scott Smith had when he was talking about these things is that he's not designed. Whoa. He's not designed for this. So it's like he had multiple appearances, albeit on Fox News, albeit talking to the Daily Wire, albeit talking to News DC, and none of it was it. None of it was it. And you can look into YouTube and other pieces of content to see what and how he spoke. Because by and large, it wasn't somebody who was in the best of circumstances to probably be talking about this. What I'm about to show you, whoops, shut up. What I'm about to show you is the response that he did after they found out that he was sentenced, that the juvenile in question was sentenced. And he was sentenced pretty fucking hard. He's on probation until his 18th birthday. He is placed in a residential treatment care facility until he's 18. And then also, when released, he's going to be put on the adult sex offender registry, excuse me. Now, this is Scott Smith's response that Fox 5, this is a Fox 5 DC had, because they interviewed him after the sentencing. And it's not exactly how you would say, if I'm a lawyer and representing the family, I don't know why I would have him talk, but you be the judge. Also, who is that?
I was really nervous that they were not going to put him on the adult sex registry. We were told they were, and then we were told they weren't, and it was a nail biter. But he will have that following for the rest of his life, which I feel is appropriate. He didn't just attack my daughter, he attacked another one, and allegedly even another one. So he'll have to work with that. Yes, it's a label, it's a tough label, but he deserves it.
Now, I understand this is the father of a victim. We're not going to get into all this other stuff. My concern is always, or I guess the question that I'm positing, should victims of crimes talk to the media? For me, I'm of the camp of somewhere in the middle. I think that if you are, and again, this might be like the lawyer brain in me, like lawyers are designed to talk to the media. That's their job. I think it's part of their job. I don't think that victims are the best advocates for themselves or the case all the time. So something that may happen or has a potential of happening is if you go into an interview unrehearsed or unprepared for the questions that could potentially be asked, you might run into the problems that might make the lawyer's job hard, your representation's job harder, or the other individual's job, like the people who are in defense, the defense of the case, easier. So I'm always really wary about the language that victims and parent and like family of victims have when they go to talk to news media. And that was the general disagreement that Mr. Taylor and I had. However, I want to make something clear. I'm on his side here. So I responded with, because he mentioned like her full name was mentioned, excuse me. Her full name was mentioned in juvenile court multiple times by several witnesses and court officials, and herself when she took the witness stand in the courtroom, which is open to the public and the media. I decided to never use her name, only refer to her as victim. The problem here is that while, yes, the case is open to the public, I don't think Scott was really understanding what I was trying to throw here. In that most people, especially outside individuals, are not going, like when I say outside individuals, I'm talking about the people who want to politicize this case. Those people who want to politicize this case are not going to this hearing to find out the name of the victim or even the name of the suspect, or even to try to prove that this actually is a trans imposter. Somebody's just a boy wearing a skirt. Like they're not going to that hearing. What they are doing, however, is waiting for someone to leak that information. But I think morally, a lot of individuals would probably, I would argue, if I was somebody who went to that case, to that sentencing with the only intention to find out the names of the individuals, and then I leaked that information, even though, as Scott Taylor brings out, is a courtroom proceedings open to the public and the media, you would probably get insane amounts of flack, insane amounts of pushback, and insane amounts of not only you're not only going to get, I'm going to use ideological sides here for a second. You're not only going to get slammed by the left for potentially putting victims at risk, you're also going to get slammed on the right, because what business do you have disclosing the name of somebody else's daughter to the public? You know what I mean? Like, what business do you have disclosing the identity of juveniles? You're going to get slammed on both ends. So I think that from, like, if we're taking like a moralistic stance, it's probably best to not describe who the victims are. Like, we understand the nature that we're dealing with on social media, right? Like, the right believes that the mob is real. The left believes that the mob is real, depending on who you ask. And it just wouldn't lead to anything that's kind of fun or dandy for anybody. I tried to clarify my position, where it's like, you have journalistic integrity, and that's expected when you report things, and I know this. However, when you have an individual like Scott Smith, a private citizen, who is going on news media on behalf of his daughter, that creates a situation where she can be identifiable. And this is my point. Like, sure, there are public hearings, but we can deduce that the last name of this individual is Smith. The last name of this individual is it's too much information if you are a local resident of the community, right? I live in Jersey, so I'm pretty far removed from this. So it'll be very difficult for me to figure out who this individual is just based on the name Scott Smith, and that the daughter went to school at two different schools. That's not a lot of information, but somebody within the community, that's a lot of information, which was always my concern. Like, my concern is that I want to make sure that victims' identities are not revealed to the public, because as we've seen time and time again, people are ridiculous when it comes to sexual assault cases broadly. People are very strong about this. So I say a couple other things. He quote treats me out of context, and we clean that up, because this is separate from a different thing, but we'll do the thread line for line. So Scott said, you make some good points, but I take every incident on a case-by-case basis and make a decision with each family on board if they want to speak publicly or not. And I said, right. Whoops, what the fuck just happened? Right. My broader point is that your job is difficult when it comes to crimes and navigating with victims and their families. There's plenty of examples where folks compromised entire cases due to news appearances. I don't think that's the journalist's fault. So Scott responds with, I've never had a criminal case in any of my stories compromised because someone spoke on camera. So he's sort of an outlier, but again, which is possible. Like, I tried to not make it seem like I posited that this happens all the time. I'm just saying, like, there are examples of this happening. And then he continues, I've had criminals confess to their crimes while doing an interview with me. which is my point. Like, if I am a criminal, let me rephrase this. If I'm a lawyer and my client confessed in an interview, oh, whoo, I would argue that I'd probably be furious. Or at least big mad. Then you wouldn't be that guy. Exactly. I'd be like, you know what? Hey, congratulations. I'm going to go home and you can live your best life. I'm just gonna live. Yeah, I'm gonna go home. Don't call me ever again, but you should probably call a new lawyer. Okay? Sounds great. Have a great rest of your life in prison. Like, oh, you going to jail. You're going to the big house, big. Anyway, so broadly speaking, if I had to make a position, is that I'm very wary of victims and their families, and even people convicted of, like, allegedly or charged with crimes, I should say, speaking to news media. If I understand that news media can sometimes twist public opinion, twist narratives, it's a powerful tool for lawyers because they want to set their narrative for their client. But I'm always wary because we've seen situations of just not good news appearances. But again, to be fair, we've seen the same, like people who are just like, I remember the James Brown interview, or even fucking, I dipped the fries in the barbecue sauce. Travis Scott did a whole interview with Charlemagne the God. And that shit, we watched that. That shit was awful. It's like, who is your representation?
Always, be there to help you guys heal through this. And I understand that they're
Like, this is bad. This entire thing, front to back, is 50 minutes of pure Colombian pain. Or just pain. It doesn't be Colombian pain, it's just pain. But yeah, that's kind of like my thoughts on it. It's not to say that victims of crimes and families of victims should never ever talk to the press. I just think that you have to navigate it in a certain way, and I think getting guidance through legal representation is a great place to start. And I just think that, like, sometimes not every individual, whether it be a victim or otherwise, should be talking to news media. It should be perfectly fine to say that Smith could have spoken to the media all he wants if he just that's my thing. I probably wouldn't feel as strongly about it if it was just like, father of the victim. The father of the victim said this. The father of the victim said that. Then we just know him as the father of the victim. Like, even in the video in question, let me pull this up, Jamie. Might be kind of tricky to find.
Before the 15-year-old was sentenced, the judge told the
Sorry, we're doing this live. Like, take a look at this.
rest of their lives. The defendant's mother only wanted to speak with Fox 5 after leaving the courtroom. She does not want her name or voice revealed to protect her family, but says, quote, "My son has been given the opportunity to do better and be better. Hopefully it allows him to heal and victims' families heal, and we can all move forward."
For me, this is good. But for me, this is fine. I think this is a good way of approaching this. The defendant's mother spoke to Fox 5 DC, did not want her name or her voice revealed to protect her family. But she wanted to make a statement, and she did. I don't know who this woman is. Coming into this, I don't know who this woman is. Coming out of it, except I have a word bite, and then I know it came from her, from the defendant's mother. And that to me is pretty okay. You know?